Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now September 10th of 2024, and it's going to be an interesting week to say the least for the Walt Disney Company, for ABC, for everything else related to Bob Iger's overall leadership over at the Walt Disney Company and everything that's been going on between Lucasfilm to Marvel Studios, to also everything related to the ongoing Disney live-action remakes, and focusing on Snow White in particular here and everything that's been going on with Rachel Zegler behind closed doors. It is very interesting to say the least, based on what's been going on after her recent firing from all of the Disney projects after Snow White 2025, including the Snow White sequels. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So one thing is for certain is that we know that those out there like Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot have been involved in this ongoing drama, right? They've been involved in this ever-evolving grudge between themselves based on the PR disaster by Rachel Zegler, based on what she's been putting on social media, her ongoing interviews that have been a disaster for the Disney executives, and it only gets worse every single week. Now, focusing on the Zegler situation, this is where things begin to truly get out of control. Now, we know one thing about this film in particular is that it is not only well over $300+ million when it comes to the budget of the film and rising with upcoming reshoots, by the way. We'll have a lot more to talk about that by the end of the week, but it also has a lot to do with their marketing campaign and the press tour funds. Now, focusing on everything here, what's interesting is that with the Walt Disney Company already in both damage control mode and double down mode over the current status of all their divisions, one major development going on right now has more to do with Rachel Zegler and her behavior behind the scenes after her firing from the Walt Disney Company based on her recent PR disaster, along with the 5 failed test screenings of Snow White. Now, one shocking turn of events that's been going on right now involves how already Zegler is beginning to take action against the Walt Disney Company after her firing and is already on the blame game train, where she already shouted to the Disney executives in a recent gathering that Gal Gadot was the one to blame for her firing since she made it difficult to work with on set and impacted her acting capability. Now, this blame game coming from Zegler right now is said to only be enhancing the grudge between the two actresses as Disney desperately demands them to act friendly on camera and for special events. Now, many of those events have already been cancelled as is. In addition to this, Zegler also put pressure on the executives, recently blaming the test screenings on her reason of getting fired, and to be more specific, there was an aggressive exchange that took place between Zegler and the Disney heads, claiming that Disney decided to use the worst takes of course, the scenes that she had filmed that were performed for both the second and third acts of Snow White. Now, with the 2 Snow White films already cancelled that were going to serve as sequels, we talked about this, and the marketing campaign already getting adjusted after losing millions of dollars in marketing funds, Zegler is already in the midst of having a complete meltdown with Gal Gadot, where she did go face-to-face with her in a recent remote meeting over the press tour plans for Snow White, where both, of course, were informing the Disney executives that they don't want to work with each other on the press tour. This involves simple interviews and appearances on late-night TV shows. The firing situation of Zegler also got to a point where Rachel was putting full blame on both Gal Gadot and director Mark Webb for ruining her acting career, since she was 100% relying on the Walt Disney Company to be, of course, the path forward for her many upcoming films. Now, guys, let me just say one thing about that. Now, the fact that Zegler viewed the Walt Disney Company as her path forward to obtaining a everlasting career, I think is the first mistake, alright? Because Disney's willing to turn their back on anybody. It doesn't matter if you're full of their ideology or not. If you're not making them money, you're out, right? You're just out of there. That's how it works. And if it happens with Disney, it happens with any studio. And that's just how the business works. But focusing on Zegler here, I mean, it really seems like that. She's coping, and she's coping very hard about what's been going on with her situation over at Disney, over, of course, the Snow White production, over everything else related to her social media posts that really cost her her future roles. That was like the final nail in the coffin. But what's interesting to me the most has a lot to do with the fact that she's casting full blame on Mark Webb, the director, and Gal Gadot, her co-star, as to why she was let go from not just the Snow White sequels, but also all of the other Disney projects, and how she's also pretty much getting shoved to the wayside for many of the press tour events. This involves, like I talked about earlier in the week, a actual Thanksgiving parade special that would actually present Snow White where Rachel was supposed to sing. Same exact thing was supposed to happen around Christmas time. Same exact thing right around New Year's Eve. And most certainly the finale being the major presentation at the world premiere of Snow White in March. Those 4 major events, as of right now, are no longer happening and no longer featuring Rachel Zegler. That's how bad it really got. So, we have this boycott going on. So many families want nothing to do with this film. Disney's aware of that. The executive's aware of it. Bob Iger most certainly knows about that. But on top of everything here, to make matters worse for Zegler's situation, is that the Snow White press tour will be focusing more on Gal Gadot instead of Rachel to prevent more PR damage to the company, as this is the only project left that Zegler is attached to, and even that is being sliced in half. Zegler already had multiple aggressive conversations with Gal and director Mark Webb, especially with Mark for showing some form of favoritism for Gal to using better takes than Rachel's, and this created a further divide between the two. So here you have it, you have Rachel blaming Mark Webb, the director, for really kind of engaging in favoritism toward Gal Gadot over Rachel Zegler, and that is something that is completely false. What's really going on here is that Gal had better acting sessions in this movie than Rachel did, and that's really what it all boiled down to tell you the truth. So not only are they trying to redo the entire ending of this film, this is something that is evolving as we speak. They want to reshoot the entire ending. It is a botched mess where it stands right now, and it is considered a deal breaker among test screeners that labeled it as a moment where people would be walking out of the theaters. That's how bad of an ending Snow White 2025 is. So there's that. The other thing is the CGI use. The CGI use in this film reportedly is, in appearance, very much underwhelming, comes across as unfinished, comes across as very much rushed, and that's the problem as well, is that they poured so much money into the CGI, into the animation, that it's not even impressing test screeners, and now executives are in full-on panic mode about the current status of this film in its entirety. So, like I've said before, I mean, this is a similar scenario to what's happening right now with the Mufasa film. There's a lot of backlash going along with that film. Something that is so unnecessary, a film that nobody asked for, and that's why many fans, many people that grew up with the Lion King original animated film, don't even want to check in to watch Mufasa. Because the first one was just kind of like, it was just whatever, and then you move on, and then you focus on another Lion King film. Makes no sense to me, but yeah, I mean, this is interesting to say the least. I would like to hear what everyone has to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.